Hello friends, good morning and welcome back to Relief Tutorials. In the previous lectures we have seen chemical properties of metals. Today our topic is about how metal reacts with non-metal. How metal reacts with non-metal. Let us take some examples of metals first. Let us say sodium. Atomic number of sodium is 11 and its electronic configuration is 281. Potassium, atomic number is 19. Configuration is 2881. Atomic number of magnesium is 12. Electronic configuration is 282. So as per the electronic configuration of these metals, if you see it possesses 1 or 2, or if you think about aluminium, it possesses 3 electrons in the outermost orbits. So most of the metals possess 1, 2 or 3 electron in their outermost orbit. So they possess or they have a tendency to lose electrons. Sodium has 1 electron in its outermost orbit, so it has a tendency to lose this 1 electron and it forms Na plus ion. Electron loser atoms forms positive ions and electron gainer atoms forms negative ion. Potassium also have a tendency to lose this 1 electron, so it forms K plus ion. Magnesium loses 2 electrons here, so it forms Mg2 plus ion. Aluminium has a tendency to lose 3 electrons, so it forms Al3 plus ion. Means these atoms has a tendency to lose the electron. If you take some examples of non-metals, let us say nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, chlorine and many such. Nitrogen atomic number 7, so its configuration is 2,5. Oxygen atomic number 8, so its configuration is 2,6. Fluorine atomic number 9, so 2,7. Chlorine atomic number 17, so it's 287. By observing the electronic configuration, chlorine has 7 electrons in its outermost orbit. Fluorine also having 7, here is 6, here is 5. So most of the non-metals possess 4, 5, 6 or 7 electrons in their outermost orbit. We are not talking about any of such example who possess 4 electrons in the outermost orbit. That we will see in the next chapter of carbon. But right now, if you see, these non-metals has 5, 6 or 7 electrons in their outermost orbit. So the atoms who possess 7 electrons in their outermost orbit has a tendency to gain 1 electron, and once it gains 1 electron, it forms F minus fluoride ion. This forms Cl minus chloride ion. If oxygen has 6 electrons in the outermost orbit, so it has a tendency to gain 2 electron. By gaining 2 electrons, it forms O2 minus oxide ion. Nitrogen has 5 electrons in its outermost orbit, so it has a tendency to gain 3 electrons, so it forms N3 minus nitride ion. So this way, these are some examples of negative ions formed from non-metals, and these are some positive ions formed from metals. Now when these metals and non-metals are trying to react with each other, metals are going to lose electron and those electrons will be gained by non-metals, and in this way they react with each other and they combine by some force of attraction. If you think the simple example, consider we take two, one is sodium and another one is chlorine. So sodium having atomic number 11, so its configuration is 281, and chlorine's configuration is 287, atomic number 17. So by observing the electronic configuration, it is very clear that sodium has a tendency to lose this one electron. So sodium is going to lose the one electron and it forms Na plus ion. This is called as ionization reaction. This is the representation of ionization of sodium. So what was this? This was sodium atom. And what is this now? This is sodium ion. So what is the difference in their characteristics? Vast difference. What is the electronic configuration of sodium? It was 281. And what is the configuration here now? It is 28 because one electron is lost. But this lost electron is gained by whom? Who is gaining this one electron? So this electron is actually gained by this chlorine. So let us write the equation for that. Chlorine is gaining one electron. Losing electron is represented on the right hand side, but the gaining electron obviously represented here on the left hand side. So by gaining one electron, chlorine becomes negative ion. What was this? This was chlorine atom. And what is this? This is chloride. IDE, I am adding chloride ion. Configuration of chlorine was what? 287. And what is the configuration of chloride? 288, because it has gained one electron. So this is the representation of ionization of chlorine. Okay, if I draw the structure, consider this is sodium. If I represent only outermost orbit electron, so how many are there? 1. So consider this is the atom of sodium. This is the electron of sodium from the outermost orbit. Chlorine has how many electrons in the outermost orbit? 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Okay, so when they react with each other, what happens? This one electron from sodium is lost and added to chlorine. So what happens? Sodium, after losing this electron, it forms positive ion, and chlorine, it was having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 electrons already, and 1 electron from chlorine. So this is sodium positive ion and this is chloride negative ion. Because of this opposite charge, now listen to me carefully, because of this opposite charge of ions, again, because of this opposite charge of ions, there is some particular force of attraction is there between these two. I am showing that force of attraction by dotted line. Look at this dotted line. What is this for dotted line is? This dotted line just represents the force of attraction. Again, listen to me. These two ions are not sticked with each other. They are not connected. They are not sticked. But there is a force of attraction between these two. And because of this force of attraction, what happens? These two now remains as it is. So now this is a single molecule, and this molecule is called as NaCl. Total charge of the whole molecule would be again 0. I think all these things we have discussed in the first chapter. Again, what was there? 1 electron was there in the outermost orbit of sodium. 7 electrons were there in the outermost orbit of chlorine. Sodium has a tendency to lose this 1 electron, so it has lost. Okay, sodium forms positive ion, chlorine forms negative ion here. So this is positive, this is negative. So what happens? There is a force of attraction between these two oppositely charged ions. This force of attraction between these two is called as ionic bond. Bond here word represents force of attraction. Ionic bond because of what? There is a oppositely charged ions are there. So this is called as ionic bond, and such type of compounds which are formed by exchange of electrons, such type of compound are called as ionic compounds. Okay, many such examples you can take. For example, explain the bond between magnesium and chlorine. Magnesium and chlorine. So magnesium atomic number 12. Configuration of magnesium is 2, 8, 2. So if I write the ionization reaction of magnesium, magnesium 2, 8, 2. So it has a tendency to lose 2 electrons. So it forms Mg2 plus ions by losing 2 electrons. This is ionization reaction of magnesium. Now if you think about chlorine, configuration of magnesium 2 plus is 2, 8. Now chlorine atomic number 17, configuration is 2, 8, 7. So it is going to gain 1 electron. Sorry, let me represent 1 electron here. So it forms Cl minus. Okay. But now when you think about the reaction between magnesium and chlorine, let me draw the structure. Let us draw. Magnesium has how many electrons in the outermost orbit? 2. So let us say these are the 2 outermost orbit electrons of magnesium. Chlorine atomic number 17, so it has 7 electrons in the outermost orbit. So as per the configuration, one chlorine required only 1 electron from magnesium. But magnesium has 2 electrons, so one more chlorine will be required there. Because one chlorine required only 1 electron, so this electron will be gained by this chlorine, and second electron will be gained by another chlorine here, and the configuration will be completed. So what would happen? That magnesium, after losing both electrons, it forms 2 plus. After losing both the electrons, it forms 2 plus. Now what about this first chlorine? First chlorine has gained 1 electron. Means it was having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 electrons of its own, and 1 electron gained from one chlorine. So it forms 1 minus. So there is a force of attraction between these two because of the opposite charge. Another chlorine is here also. It same situation like the first one. It has 7 electrons of its own and 1 electron gained from magnesium. So there is a force of attraction here also, and it forms 1 minus. So overall, what is the total charge of the whole system? 1 minus, 1 minus, 2 minus, and 2 plus will be 0. So this compound is written as MgCl2 magnesium chloride. This is magnesium chloride. Same thing you can think for aluminium and chloride. Aluminium atomic number 13. So how to write the configuration? 2, 8, 3. It has a tendency to lose 3 electrons. So it loses 3 electrons. So it forms Al3 plus, and 3 electrons are lost. Okay. So aluminium, chlorine. If you think about the chlorine, same reaction like this. So I am not repeating again. I am drawing the structure for aluminium and chlorine. Aluminium has 3 electrons in the outermost orbit, and chlorine is having 7 electrons in its outermost orbit. So one chlorine required only 1 electron. Okay, so such how many chlorines are required? 3 chlorines are required. I am not drawing the 3 chlorine, I am writing 3 here. Such 3 chlorines are required. So now what would happen? Aluminium is going to give 1, 1 electron to each chlorine. 1 electron to each chlorine. So what we can write, after losing all these 3 electrons by aluminium, it forms aluminium 3 plus. Okay, and it remains bound with how many chlorines? 3 chlorides. So 3, and each chlorine will get 1 electron from aluminium and forms 1 minus. And such how many? 3 are there. So the formula for the new compound is AlCl3, aluminium chloride. Such compounds are called as ionic compounds because the bond formed between positive and the negative ion. Let me give some introduction about this bond. This bond is very strong because of the oppositely charged ions. So the compound which is formed by such type of ionic bond are normally strong, solid in state, because there is a strong force of attraction between the atom to atom and molecule to molecule. Let me give you some hint. For example, this is one NaCl, Na plus Cl minus, and the force of attraction means the bond is there. This is one molecule of NaCl. If you think about another molecule here, so number of molecules if you think here around it, then what would happen? Na plus Cl minus, Na plus Cl minus are there. So there is a force of attraction between positive ion of one of the molecule to negative ion of another molecule. Obviously, positive, negative going to attract each other. No doubt, this is ionic bond and it is the strongest force of attraction. Okay, so these two are very close to each other, obviously. But this force also cannot be neglected. The positive charge of one atom to negative charge of another atom, same way positive of second will be attracting the negative of first. And due to this, see, this force of attraction, listen to me carefully, this force of attraction between one positive ion and negative ion of the same molecule, this is ionic bond. This is the force of attraction between two ions. It is also called as inter-ionic force of attraction. Okay, but now what this force is called as? The force between one molecule to another molecule. This force between one molecule to another molecule is called as intermolecular force of attraction. Is that clear? That is called as intermolecular force of attraction. These force is also very strong because of what the opposite charges are attracting each other, and due to such strong force of attraction between molecule to molecule, normally ionic compounds are available in solid state. Is that clear? Normally, means the topic now is about, let us study general properties of ionic compounds. What are the general properties of ionic compounds? The first thing to remember, most of the ionic compounds are solid and solid state and also hard, and along with that it is to be remembered that they are brittle. They are brittle. Brittle means what? Brittle means when the force is applied on this type of solids, they are going to be broken into powder form. That means they can easily be broken. So What is the first property of ionic compound? Physical nature. Most of the ionic compounds are solid in state. They are somewhat hard and they are brittle because brittle by applying pressure. If we apply pressure on the solids, it will be broken into parts. Means it will be broken into pieces on application of pressure or force. Second property is about its melting point and boiling point. Melting point and boiling point are very high, because of strong intermolecular force of attraction. Third, what about the solubility? Whether they are soluble or not. This type of ionic compounds are normally soluble in water. Soluble in water, but insoluble in organic solvents like kerosene, petrol, etc. So, ionic compounds are soluble in water. So, you got to remember, we are talking about the general properties of ionic compounds. First, their physical nature. Normally, all the ionic compounds are in which state? Solid state. They are hard somewhat and they are brittle. Means they can be broken into pieces on application of force or the pressure. Second is their melting point and boiling point. Melting point and boiling points are very high. Melting point and boiling point of ionic compounds are very high because of their strong intermolecular force of attraction. Then third is their solubility. Mostly they are soluble in water, but they are not soluble in organic solvents like kerosene, petrol, etc. Fourth and the most important characteristics is conduction of electricity. Whether they are good conductor of electricity or not. See, for the good conductors, means for the good conductivity of electricity, free ions should be there. If you think about, consider this is the bowl, and in that bowl we have pieces of NaCl, the powder form of NaCl. So powder form of NaCl means sodium chloride means what? We have the pieces like this, Na plus Cl minus, another next. So these are the molecules of NaCl. Tell me whether these ions are free to move? No, because they are bounded. They are not free. So in the solid state, this is solid state of ionic compound. This is solid state of ionic compound, and in the solid state, it does not possess free means moving. It does not possess moving charges or moving ions. These ions are bounded. Okay, but when you dissolve this, let us now dissolve. So in what I want to explain exactly is that in solid state, it does not possess free charges. They have charges, but they are not free to move. They are not moving from one place to another because it is bounded by the strong force of attraction. So because the charges are not moving, this is bad conductor of electricity, or it's a poor conductor, means insulator. Okay, now if you dissolve this NaCl in water, what happens? So as we know that these ionic compounds are soluble in water, what water will do? Water break this bond between Na and Cl. So what happens that when you add sodium chloride here, Na plus and Cl minus got separated. So the bond between Na plus and Cl minus is broken, and Na plus and Cl minus now become independent. Means independent means they are free to move from one place to another. So this is the aqueous solution. This is called as aqueous solution of NaCl, and it is the good conductor of electricity. So in the solid state they are bad conductors because they does not possess any moving charges, moving ions, but aqueous solution obviously a very good conductor of electricity because water is going to break the bond between Na and Cl, and it is a good conductor of electricity. One more idea, if we do not dissolve this NaCl in water and if we melt it, just melt it by heating, by supplying extraordinary amount of heat, this is the molten state of ionic compound. In this what happens? When you supply extraordinary amount of heat, the bond between Na plus and Cl minus is going to break. So some molecules, not all the molecules, but some molecules are broken and it forms Na plus and Cl minus ions separate. So once the ions get separated, they are free to move. So again, it is also a good conductor of electricity. So the conclusion of the whole discussion is that ionic compounds, the topic is whether they are the good conductor of electricity or not. So how we can write that ionic compounds in solid state, bad conductor. In solid state, bad conductor. In aqueous solution, they are good conductor. And in molten state also, they are good conductor of electricity, and we know the reason very well. In solid state, ions are not free to move. In liquid state and in aqueous solution state, ions are free to move from one place to another, and that is why they are the good conductors of electricity. Okay, now some 2 or 3 blue color questions are there regarding this topic. Look at this. The first is write the electron dot structures for sodium, oxygen and magnesium. Electron dot structures for sodium, oxygen and magnesium. So for sodium, I think we have drawn this in one of the, this one. Consider sodium is here, and atomic number of sodium is 11. So electron dot structure means they are trying to ask you about how you represent the electrons in sodium. So I think it is 2 electrons in the first orbit, 8 electrons in the second, because electronic configuration is 281, and 1 electron here. So this is sodium. Same thing you can represent for oxygen. Oxygen atomic number 8. So 2, 6. So this is oxygen center. First orbit possesses 2 and second orbit possesses 6. It's very easy to represent 4, 5, 6 here. According to configuration, you are just showing the diagram. That's all. And magnesium atomic number 12. Okay, so configuration is 282 here. So 282 means 2 will be in the first orbit, 8 in the second orbit, and 2 in the third orbit. This is magnesium. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 2. Nothing else. Next topic is about show the formation of Na2O. Just like we have shown the formation of MgCl2 here, we have seen the formation of AlCl3. How will you explain the formation of sodium oxide Na2O? So first of all, you will write the ionization of sodium. Sodium atomic number 281. So it is going to lose 1 electron from outermost orbit. Oxygen atomic number 8. So 2, 6. It is going to gain 2 electrons. So it forms O2 minus there. Okay. So Na2O. So sodium has 1 electron in the outermost orbit. While showing the bond, you just show the outermost orbit electrons only. Oxygen has 6 electrons in the outermost orbit. So how many required by oxygen? 2 required by oxygen. And how many are there with the sodium? Only 1. So if this 1 electron is gained by oxygen, oxygen will not be satisfied. So what happens? Another sodium is required here, and it also give 1 electron to sodium. So both these sodiums are going to lose this 1 electron to each other. Okay, and then it forms what? Na plus 1 sodium becomes Na plus, and such how many Na are there? 2. So I can write 2 here. And oxygen bounded with oxygen having 2 minus charge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. By gaining 2, it forms 2 minus. So, okay. So finally it forms Na2 and 1O sodium oxide. Same way you can think for magnesium oxide. Okay, magnesium oxide means MgO. So Mg, look at here, Mg having this type of ionization process, it has to lose 2 electrons. And if you think about oxygen, atomic number of oxygen is 8, configuration is 2, 6. So it has to gain how many electrons? 2 electrons, and it forms 2 minus. So when you show the dot structure like this, Mg has to lose, that I am showing here, Mg has 2 electrons to lose, and oxygen has 6 electrons in the outermost orbit, means it has to gain 2 electrons. So both these electrons are gained by the same oxygen. So what happens? Mg becomes 2 plus by losing these 2, and oxygen becomes 2 minus, and the formation is MgO, magnesium oxide. Very simple. Okay, question number 3 is, what are the ions present in these compounds? Which are the ions are there? So in these compounds we have seen in Na2O we have ions Na plus, O2 minus. In MgO it is Mg2 plus and O2 minus. These are the ions present in the compounds. Next question, why do ionic compounds have high melting points? Why do ionic compounds have high melting points? Why they are very high? They possess high melting points. The simple reason is they have high melting point because of what? Because they have a strong force of attraction between the, as I told you, there is a strong force of attraction between the molecule to molecule. That is called as intermolecular force. I think I have told you here. Yes, this intermolecular force of attraction is very high. So when you try to melt it, it requires greater amount of energy to break this bond between molecule to molecule. I am not talking about the force, I am not talking about the breaking the bond between two ions. No, one molecule of NaCl, another molecule of NaCl, third, fourth, they are very close because of what? The force of attraction. And when you try to melt it, you have to bring them away. You have to take them away from each other, and for that you have to break this bond. And to break this bond between molecule to molecule, they require extraordinary amount of heat energy, and that is why they possess high melting point. So what we will write in the answer? Simple one-line answer. Ionic compounds possess high melting point because a considerable, means a handsome amount of energy is required to break the strong inter-ionic force of attraction. So this is all about the topic how metals reacts with non-metals and how the ionic compounds are formed and their characteristics. Next topic will be about occurrence of metal. Till then, best of luck.